Support Tifo and get a 30-day free trial to The Athletic for in-depth coverage of your club. Eden Hazard arrived at Real Madrid with huge expectations. 50,000 fans turned up to the presentation of a player with a strong claim to being one of the Premier League's very best. They had high hopes that the new wearer of the number 7 shirt, vacated by Cristiano Ronaldo, could return the club to glory after a disappointing 2018-19. And while Hazard stated, "I'm not a Galactico, not yet," there was a strong feeling that this mesmeric dribbler and goal scorer could inject some new life into Zinedine Zidane's squad. But Hazard hasn't. According to The Athletic's Dermot Corrigan, Hazard arrived overweight and was unlucky with injuries, and that's meant he's never reached full sharpness. A thigh injury during pre-season set him back, and that's been compounded by recurrent ankle issues. Corrigan also suggests that maybe he wasn't quite prepared for the size of the task at Madrid, thought it would be just as easy as at Chelsea, and it's not been. Hazard is apparently ready to explode over the remainder of the season, but what stopped him so far from being the player Real thought they were getting? Well, in his last few seasons at Chelsea, Hazard played mostly as an inside left forward in a 3-4-3 under Antonio Conte in the title-winning season, or as a 10 when Conte switched to more of a 3-4-2-1. Under Maurizio Sarri, he played wide left in a 4-3-3, but was also deployed as a striker when Chelsea were hit by injuries. Hazard was Chelsea's key player. The systems weren't exactly built around him. Under Sarri, it could be argued that Jorginho had that place in the starting 11, but Hazard was the player who made things happen. Starting from his inside left position, he could either roam across towards the 10 space, dragging a marker and freeing a fullback or wingback on the overlap, or find space himself to carry the ball and pass or shoot. His ability to come infield off the flank, even roaming as far as the right-hand side of the pitch sometimes, meant that he was often able to find space. As Chelsea progressed the ball, either from the left wing-back or one of the central passing midfielders, Hazard could pick it up in this space and bring his dribbling into play. It's noticeable how often Hazard received the ball between the opposition defensive and midfield lines, partly a function of his innate ability and partly because Chelsea used their wide players effectively to stretch the pitch and keep the opposition spaced out. And even if the opposition lines squeezed together, Hazard often seemed to be able to play a long pass to the other flank to find the right winger or the right fullback, or to be able to take players on with his dribbling from a standing start. He was most dangerous in broken field play, but he could be equally hard to defend against in tight spaces. At Real Madrid, Hazard has found himself largely in his favoured position of left inside forward in a 4-3-3, but he hasn't registered a goal or an assist in his last 8 League or Champions League games. Now that's not to say he's played entirely badly, but there has been a noticeable drop-off in his output. Given that Hazard has largely been used in his favoured role, it's fair to assume that this is a combination of his stop-start beginning at the club due to injuries and issues with fitting into the system. But there are several things to note. Karim Benzema is a brilliant centre-forward who spends a lot more time dropping off and linking play and also has a tendency to drift left. This naturally crowds the space that Hazard would run into. He will try to cut inside instead, but then often runs into a deeper defensive line than was regularly encountered at Chelsea. It's also noticeable that Hazard plays better with Federico Valverde at left central midfield. This is partly because Valverde is a supremely energetic defensive presence, which means Hazard doesn't need to cover so much space. But it's also because Valverde's running means that the right side of the opposition midfield and defence have another runner to track. Valverde is a more mobile threat than Toni Kroos. The latter's line-breaking passes are a huge threat, but Valverde is more capable of pulling players away from space with his runs, and that creates space for Hazard. And lastly, while Hazard generally played in the opposition half while at Chelsea, he's spending a lot more time dropping off at Real Madrid. Real seem to stretch the pitch area less, keeping less distance between their lines. This means when they retract to a defensive position, Hazard is deep, and when he looks to then bring the ball forwards, he's starting in a position where it's easier to keep him away from goal. Chelsea were able to use either a back 5 or a better organised press to keep Hazard higher up the pitch. In transition, he was then starting in a position where he could pose more of an immediate threat. Now it's interesting to see that Hazard's dribbling volume is actually fairly high at Madrid. He started deeper though, with more traffic to run into, and this is reflected in the lower success rate than during the 2016-17 and 2017-18 seasons. Now, it would be totally unfair to say that Hazard has been a failure at Real Madrid at this point. While his overall attacking output has dropped off significantly, when you look at his involvement in shot and goal-ending sequences of play per 90, the difference isn't significant between his stellar last season at Chelsea and this one. The difference is that he's adjusting to team balance and his new role, while Zidane is figuring out who plays best around him. That, and his injury issues, have meant that Hazard has yet to really show what he can do. Given time and a run in the team though, there's every chance that he will become a key man for Zidane's side. If you liked today's video, you should check out Dermot Corrigan's La Liga coverage over at The Athletic. You can get a 30-day free trial to check it out, and if you don't like it, you can cancel before paying anything. Signing up is the best way to support Tifo, and will give you unparalleled access and insight into your club. See the link in the description for more, and thanks for watching.